Welcome back, MTN Giants podcast. We are going to discuss the debate between Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter at the third overall pick. It seems as the days go on and on. Now, you could look at it both ways, but it seems like the Giants are not going to go quarterback at number 3 overall. I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, because I actually would prefer Shedeur Sanders and, of course, Cam Ward. That's not going to happen, though. So in all likelihood, as we sit here today on April 7th, it seems like Cam Ward goes first overall. Then the Browns take who they think is the next best player available, a position player, whether that be Carter or Hunter. And the Giants, for better or worse, will have the decision made for them. So whether it's Carter remaining or Hunter, the Giants will, in all likelihood, take the remaining guy. There is still that chance that, yes, they take that they take Shedeur Sanders. I'm not counting on it. That's once again what my heart wants, but I just don't see it going that way. Just the way the Giants have moved this offseason by going really hard to try and acquire Matthew Stafford, to going to try and get Aaron Rodgers. That whole thing didn't work out. Then to signing Jameis Winston, then to signing Russell Wilson. It's like they crossed off every box at the quarterback position. If they really loved Ward and Sanders that much, do they really go all out to get, or to try and get, Matthew Stafford and Rodgers and end up with Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson? You could argue probably not. So we'll dive into Carter and into Hunter. I'll talk about what I like, what I don't like, and how they would potentially fit with the Giants. With the draft being 2.5 weeks away, a little under that now, I'm going to have another Giants draft video before the actual draft. I'll probably release it the weekend before, so Saturday, Sunday, and when would that be? April 19th, April 20th, maybe the 21st on Monday, whenever. But I do want to dive into some other prospects. We've kind of talked about only the top guys, and I've finished all the offensive guys I want to watch, but I do want to watch the defensive guys as well. I'm not going to dive into rounds like 6 and 7, but I can get most of day 1, day 2, some of day 3 in there, but I do want to give out some takes on which players I think make sense for this Giants team, and of course they have their positions of need, whether that be quarterback or defensive tackle. As always, leave a like, subscribe, hope you guys enjoy, and let's get into it. For how this could play out, it seemed like for the past month or so that Abdul Carter was no doubt going to Cleveland. And then I would say maybe 2-3 days ago, that report came out from one of those ESPN accounts that Travis Hunter is now like the favorite to go second overall to Cleveland. Adam Schefter said that the more likely pick is that the Browns take Travis Hunter second overall. Then some news came out that the Giants had breakfast on Sunday with Abdul Carter, and Carter's also scheduled to visit the Giants on Thursday in New Jersey. And Adam Schefter puts in this little nugget at the end. He figures to be a top 3 pick. Why would he say that? Makes you think. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe Abdul Carter guaranteed to go top 3. Who the hell knows? I do think the Giants, for the most part, have done a good job of not showing their hand and telling people who they want, which, as I said last video, is something they have done in the past with Devontae Smith and Leonard Floyd. But now I don't think anybody truly knows, and maybe they don't know. I would like to think they have an idea of who they want, and they probably do. So we'll start with Travis Hunter. He's a guy who I said in the last video, I prefer Hunter over Abdul Carter. I will say it, that's just how I feel. And I feel that way for a few reasons, but I think the main one that sticks out to me is the versatility. Now, I know it's going to be tough for him to play both sides of the ball every snap of the game. How I would do it is, I liked him at cornerback more at first, but the more I thought about it, the more I watched, I'm like, what if you put him at wide receiver next to Malik Neighbors, and you just have that for the next 5 to 10 years? It could be your T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. It could be your Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt. It could be your Anquan Bolden, Larry Fitzgerald. It can be a special duo. Now, they don't have a quarterback per se, especially with Russell Wilson being now 36. But thinking about that duo playing together, as I said, for 5 to 10 years is very intriguing. So I would say I prefer Hunter, but it seems like as of right now it might be Carter. But what I like about Travis Hunter, let's start at cornerback, because I do want to kind of split it up. I don't want to talk about him as just one player, because technically he's not. But as a cornerback, for the positives, I think his play recognition is off the charts. The way he can break on the ball is incredible. It's just something that I don't want to say I've never seen it before, but just the way he can break on routes is just, it's very impressive. And maybe this is because he has the wide receiver background. I feel like at times he's running these routes for guys. Like when he's on defense, it's like he might just have that like a sixth sense because this is the position he plays the other half of the game. Maybe he just knows like what routes are coming and whatnot. I don't know, but it feels like at times, and maybe it's because he's so sticky in coverage that he's actually running these routes for these receivers. Of course, his ball skills are off the charts. Probably some of the best ball skills we've seen for a cornerback. He has long arms. He has really good recovery speed, great general speed, explosiveness, and he's great at baiting cornerbacks or quarterbacks into interceptions, which of course that's important for a Giants defense that did nothing really in terms of intercepting the ball last year. I think the Giants had 5 total interceptions, which is a joke. For the negatives at cornerback, I would say not a big hitter. He's not too intimidating. I don't think he gives off like those, if you meet me in the flat, I'm going to crack you and put you on the ground type vibes. I don't really see that being his thing. So there might be a bit of a tackling issue, and he might get bullied by some of the bigger receivers, some of the guys like A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, just guys that have an obvious strength advantage against him. I could see that maybe not going his way. Now at wide receiver, as I said for corner, the ball skills are insane. That of course will translate to wide receiver. He can high point the ball, very good hands. He is creative after the catch, and he does know how to take angles to make big plays. And I know he's not an exact clone of this guy, but when I watched Hunter and some of these plays where he would just take angles and outrun guys, it did remind me of the prime OBJ. It did give me some of those vibes, and sometimes I see Tyreek Hill when he's playing wide receiver as well, so it's kind of a weird mixture, but that's kind of what I see with Travis Hunter. He's able to make catches through contact, which I've always criticized Darius Slayton for that. He's not great at that, but he's great at playing through contact. And he's very elusive with the ball in his hands. For the negatives at receiver, sometimes beating press coverage is not too easy for him. He can get bumped off his routes. He has that slender frame, which I guess sometimes can be a bit concerning. And yeah, I think him staying healthy, of course, is a big concern. I had this argument, or just, I don't know if it's an argument, but me and my friend were talking about what should the Giants do? And my friend wanted Travis Hunter. I want Shedeur Sanders. And I told him, if you can guarantee me like a clean bill of health for Travis Hunter for the next 10 years, I would say take Hunter. I think he has that type of ability that most non-quarterbacks don't have, where you can really make a difference. Like a lot of times it's, if you don't have a quarterback, you have nothing. We've seen that as Giants fans now for a few years. But I think Travis Hunter has such a unique ability to change the game on both sides of the ball, whether it's playing every defensive snap and then coming in at wide receiver for 20 to 25 snaps. We've heard that as a possibility. And if he were able to do that, he can really be one of the bigger game changers for a non-quarterback that we've ever seen. So yeah, I love taking a shot on quarterback when it's there, but if you have a guy who hopefully stays healthy and can play both sides of the ball, then I can hear you out. But as we know, sometimes with position players, these guys that are viewed as can't miss happen to miss. I was a big Chase Young fan. Guy happened to miss, whether it was the ACL or a work ethic concern. Jadeveon Clowney was supposed to be the next great thing. He had a very solid career, not a Hall of Famer, but ultimately that pick didn't turn out to be what we thought it was. Even like Leonard Fournette, like, oh, can't pass on Fournette, generational. Yeah, he wasn't that generational. He had like 1 or 2 good years. I mean, Fournette wasn't really worth a top 5 pick or whatever the hell he was. So that's how I feel about Hunter. I think he has the potential to be a massive difference maker. I mean, both these guys do, but Hunter just for the unique reason that he plays on both sides. And if he happen to fail at corner, you can put him at wide receiver full time, vice versa. Like if he fails at wide receiver, put him at corner. Like when I first watched him, I liked him at corner more, but when I heard about the longevity arguments, and I feel like if he cleans up the route running, there is some untapped potential at wide receivers. So if the first 2 picks are quarterback, I'm going with Travis Hunter. Now for Abdul Carter, the things I like about him, the quickness and the get-off is absolutely insane. It's one of those things that leaves you in disbelief. His change of direction and his bend for an edge rusher is really insane. He can get pushed to the top of the pocket and just make a cut and instantly just be able to kind of wrap up a quarterback's legs and most times get a sack. He probably has to work on some pass rushing moves, like he'll do that. I watched that one, I think it was the Alex Rollins breakdown, where he goes to that ghost move a lot, where like he looks like he's going in and then kind of ducks under and gets under the tackle before he can really have any type of leverage. So that helps him get to the quarterback a lot. But once these tackles catch on to what he's doing, he's not as effective. So I have my concerns about like how many pass rushing moves are in his toolbox. That has to get expanded when he gets to the NFL. He plays with a lot of energy. He's a guy who clearly loves football, so I do love that. He's nimble in coverage, I would say, for the most part. When he's asked to drop back, you're not drafting Abdul Carter for that reason, but the Giants defense does that once in a while, so it's, something that matters in this case. His footwork's good. I mentioned the change of direction, very good. The bend is very good. Like, his bending ability is, I would say for the most part, it's very good. There are times, and this is something I noticed when watching him, is that he does get knocked off balance a lot. He ends up on the ground more times than you would hope for. I feel like the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, it might be the field, it might be the cleats he wore that game. But then you watched a few other games and it's like, wow, this guy's on the ground more than he should be. So that was one tiny concern I have for him, but not something that's the end of the world. I would say ideally he's a 3-4 outside linebacker. The Giants did a lot of both last year, but mainly a 3-4 type of defense. And he does seem to have like crazy confidence and that dog mentality, just stuff that I love. So if Abdul Carter's a Giant, I'm going to be a big fan of just his attitude and whatnot. The concerns are his arms are a bit short for an edge rusher. I would say he's not overly dominant strength-wise. I feel like some tackles are fine with his bull rush, and he doesn't really do a bull rush that often anyway, so that's another thing he probably has to get better at. His run defense, I would say, wasn't too impressive. It's not bad, but I just expected a bit better. Then you have these medical red flags of the foot injury. He didn't need surgery for it, but still, a foot injury is concerning. Then he had that shoulder injury in the playoffs. So yeah, he comes in with some injury concerns. I feel like Travis Hunter, as far as I know, has a pretty clean bill of health. Overall, if the Giants leave with either one of these guys, I can't leave the draft pissed. It's like, you're getting guys, I don't like throwing the G word around, generational. I do think Hunter has the ability to be generational. I don't know about Carter. I actually did like Micah Parsons more. Still wish the Giants took him back in that 2021 draft, but I did like Parsons a bit more, but Carter's also a freak. Like, he's going to be fine. I feel like I am concerned about the injuries, but I'm not a doctor. I don't look at the medical records. I have no idea. So I'm hoping Carter is fine health-wise. He has more things to polish as compared to Travis Hunter, in my opinion. But overall, Carter is a freak athlete. As I said, his get-off, his burst is insane. The bend is very good. The change of direction is very good. So I feel like he has a very bright future. And if they drafted Carter, I'm trying to think who has the best pass rushes in the NFL. But the Giants would be up there. I would say like top 5, top 7 maybe at worst. Like, they would have one of the better pass rushes in the NFL with Brian Burns, Kayvon, Dexter Lawrence, Chauncey Golston. Now you add Abdul Carter. It's like, all right, that's a very good group. So that would be intriguing. And of course, the Giants teams that I grew up with and some of you guys grew up with, and of course, a lot of us saw the Giants teams of 2007, 2011 that made it to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl on the back of Eli Manning being clutch in the playoffs and their defense and the pass rush specifically being overwhelming at times, whether it was against, insert great quarterback here, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady twice. This can hopefully maybe get us back to those old times. I know the NFL has changed since then, but at the end of the day, getting to the quarterback and getting the quarterback rattled is still very important, whether it's 2007 or 2025. I mean, it still is a difference maker. We saw that for the Eagles. The Eagles have kicked ass in the trenches for so many years now. I don't think Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in the world. I think a lot of Giants fans underrate him, but I don't think he's like top 6 or 7 either. But they're able to win games because they can kick ass in the trenches. Now, of course, having weapons like Saquon and Brown and Devontae Smith and even Goddard, it helps. I get it. And even having like Slay at corner and Cooper DeJean, like, yeah, they have a great roster. I know what I'm saying here, but yeah, having guys that can just win in the trenches is very important. That always holds up, whether it's the 80s, the early 2000s, 2025, it's like you got to win in the trenches. And I feel like if the Giants were to draft Carter defensively on that defensive line, it's going to be tough for offenses to stop that. So we'll see. That's going to be intriguing. But also for Travis Hunter, as I said before, I do want to see him paired with Malik Neighbors. And if it didn't work out for some reason and he had to play cornerback full time, that's fine too. As we sit here though, I would love to know what John Mara is thinking, because as we know, before the final, I think it was the Friday before the final game of the year, the game versus Philly, they had a meeting, Shane and Dable, with John Mara, as we know, and apparently some plan at quarterback was kind of sold to John Mara, which is why they were brought back. And I just, with all they've struck out so far this offseason with Stafford and Rodgers, like I just wonder if this was really in the cards for them. If anything, it feels like the Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson thing is like plan C, and maybe they sold Mara on during that time on drafting Shedeur Sanders. I don't know. Like, that's why it's so confusing. Like, did John Mara really bring these two back knowing that the plan was going to be Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston? I just don't see that being the case. So I think things did go wrong for them. And I will say, having a quarterback room of Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, it's a lot better than the past couple of years, but it's still not what you bring these guys back in year 3 for. So I'm a little, I guess, confused about what the vision is. I mean, did they really have a chance at Stafford? I mean, not really. I always thought he'd be a Ram still. They had to work some things out. I mean, there are reports now that Jalen Milroe is going to the draft, meaning that he probably will be picked in the first round, which is pretty interesting. Do the Giants trade up back in the first round for him, or possibly Jackson Dart? There is the scenario where Shedeur Sanders starts to fall in the draft. I mean, if he got past the Saints at 9, I mean, the next team that can take him, or probably would take him, maybe Seattle, because I know the Sam Darnold deal is not, it's not like the full 3 years are guaranteed or anything, so they can get out of that if Darnold's not good next year. The Steelers at 21, maybe. So I don't know, like maybe Sanders drops into the 20s and the Giants can trade back up and they somehow get Carter and Sanders, or Hunter and Sanders, which would be really cool. But I don't really know. Like, outside of the quarterback position, it's been a really good offseason. I have no problem with what the Giants did in free agency. I was a pretty big fan of Adebo and Javon Holland and Golston and some of the smart depth signings they made. I just thought it all made sense. Now, of course, with the draft coming up, I mean, yeah, you probably want to be safe and just take the best player available. But as I said, the Chase Youngs and the whoever, like Jadeveon Clowney's, Leonard Fournette's, I mean, not everybody's a guarantee. I hate to say it, and believe me, I hope I'm wrong, knock on wood, but like, what if one of these guys tears their ACL or tears their Achilles? Like, things change, right? I mean, as good of prospects as these guys are, you never know. Which is why, for a person like me, I view Shedeur Sanders as a good enough prospect. I mean, yeah, there's been other quarterbacks I've liked more than Shedeur Sanders. He's not my favorite. I loved Drake May last year, of course, and even like Jaden Daniels, I wasn't super high on him, but I did like him more than Shedeur Sanders. And even J.J. McCarthy, I liked him a lot last year too. I would say J.J. and Shedeur are kind of more similar, I would say, but like that tier of quarterback, I know they're not a guarantee, they're not a home run, but most quarterback picks aren't, right? Trevor Lawrence was supposed to be guaranteed. That hasn't worked out. Andrew Luck, I mean, it worked out for a bit. The longevity wasn't great. But the point is, like, for a team like the Giants, who they have not taken a swing on a quarterback since Daniel Jones, which was 6-7 years ago, 2019, I mean, take your chance. I feel like Shedeur is a good enough prospect. I would say he clearly wants to be a Giant. I doubt the guy wants to go to Cleveland or New Orleans. I mean, I feel like the Saints might be a good fit for him, but still, the guy probably wants to be a Giant. And as much as it would suck to pass on Carter or even Hunter, I just think this team finding their quarterback of the future is the most important thing. I said this 10 minutes ago. If you don't have your quarterback, you really have nothing. There's teams out there with great rosters, and the quarterback holds them back. The Broncos before Russ got there. I hate to say it, but even that's how I feel about the Lions sometimes, and that's kind of why the Rams moved off of Jared Goff, because they felt like Goff couldn't get them to the promised land. I mean, he got them to the Super Bowl, but they couldn't win it because they put up like 9 points in that Super Bowl. But you get the point. You got to have a great roster, but if you don't have a great signal caller, a great quarterback, there's only so far you can go. And I know for us fans, the bar is so low because the Giants have had one competent year in the past decade. But still, I really do feel Shedeur is a good enough prospect. I'm not sure the Giants feel that way, and honestly, I don't think they feel that way. And someone asked me today on Twitter, like, what do you like about Shedeur Sanders? And I responded with accuracy. He understands coverages. He maneuvers in the pocket well. I know he's not Lamar Jackson. I get it. He moves fine in the pocket. I would say he has much more awareness than the other quarterback we had here in the past. Above average anticipation, smooth mechanics, good velocity, an adequate arm. I know his arm is not great. I don't think it sucks either. Adequate arm. He's mentally and physically tough. The guys will rally around him. I think he's great with the media, like he will be great with the media. And he's one of those guys who I've heard him described as a distributor, which I think is a great way to say it. He's not a guy who, as I said, is going to throw like 60 yards downfield. His arm is not tremendous, but he just knows how and when to get the ball in his playmaker's hands. I feel like a guy like Wandale will benefit. Malik Neighbors, of course, will benefit. I feel like maybe Russell Wilson's a better fit for a guy like Darius Slayton or Jalen Hyatt, if he even matters. But just guys that are good route runners and guys that are possession receivers, I think having a Shedeur Sanders type guy is a great fit. And I don't think the Giants should be drafting their future quarterback based on how he fits with Jalen Hyatt. Like, who gives a damn? Like, trade him for 6th round pick at this point, whatever. This is funny. This got tweeted a minute ago, but it was Travis Hunter answering a question about how does he have time to prepare and attend all meetings if needed for playing both sides of the ball. He said, we have 24 hours in a day. We sleep for 8 of those, so we have 16 more dedicated to that. That's a pretty good answer. I will say that's a very well media trained answer right there by Travis Hunter. That's another thing though. Like, how do you attend meetings for the wide receiver room and the cornerback room? I don't know. I don't know how he makes it work, but I just think in the NFL it's going to be mostly cornerback and some wide receiver plays. I don't think he'll play 100+ snaps every game. I just don't see it. Anyway, that'll do it. Next Giants video will be, as I said, 5-6 days before the draft. And if you guys have any questions, I mean, especially for those watching till the end, the loyal listeners out there, if you have any questions, I will answer them or I'll answer them during the next video. So I will do that. And also leave in the comments, do you prefer Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter? I've said I wanted Hunter, but not sure we get him at this point. We'll see. I think for the Browns, for how incompetent they've been for my entire lifetime, basically, I do think Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski are a smart duo. So I do think they'll get it right. Not saying that Carter is the wrong pick, but I think Hunter is the better player. As always, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll talk to you guys next time.